Hey guys, this is JJ with Express Workshops. This week we're going to take a great photograph and make it even better. Okay, let's get started making this great photograph even better. Well, I'm not bragging, I'm just simply saying that I really like this photograph. I like how it turned out. Everything about it when I shot it worked out really good. It was exactly what I wanted in my mind. It turned out the way that I wanted. The lens that I used, the nice wide lens, was a good choice. The composition here is good, the color's good, and the lighting was good. So I was really excited when I got what I got here. And what I mean by making a great photograph even better is once you get it into Photoshop, then you start noticing some things that maybe you didn't notice on your little LCD screen. And in this case, one of the things that I didn't notice when I was excited about getting my shot, and I'll make another layer here, is right here we have two different little antlers coming out of his head. Now, composition wise, I'm not sure I could have prevented that because I did want this angle, and this was kind of an agreed spot between myself and the subject. So I'm not sure that something like that could be completely avoided. Maybe just moving the camera a little bit would have taken care of it, but hey, that's what Photoshop is for. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up some of that kind of stuff first, and this whole tutorial is just so that you can look at a few techniques that I'm using just to make this really good photograph even better. Okay, so let's get started. First thing I like to do is just go ahead and Control J and make a duplicate of my layer. And then I want to address these antlers first. I'll go ahead and get the big ticket items taken care of first, and then I'll move into some of the more detailed things. And probably before I actually pointed those antlers out to you, you may not have noticed it. And with that in mind, I'm going to make a edit in that area that it's not going to be perfect, but in the scheme of things, it's probably not going to be noticed. It's just one of those things that if you didn't know it was there, you probably won't notice it once I do my edit on there. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to go ahead and get my lasso tool, and I'm going to just sample some of this sky and some of the branches that are here, because I'm going to put that over that area. And once I've made my selection, I'm going to go to the Refine Edge tool, and just to make it a little easier for me to get that to blend in with the background, I'm going to throw a feather on it. I'm going to say OK. And on the keyboard, I'm going to Control J so I can go ahead and pull that on an independent layer by itself. So here's my little patch. And I'm just going to move that in the area that I want. So right about there is good. And as you can see, I pulled some of that blue sky in there with it. And that's okay because basically we're just going to be modifying the way that big white cloud there is anyway. So that won't hurt anything. So I'm going to go Control T to transform that area and make that a little bit bigger. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to see if I can't get this to kind of match a little bit better in this area. I mean, it doesn't have to match like I said before, but just make it a little more believable looking. So I'm going to say that's okay. Push OK on my keyboard, and that works out pretty good, except for, of course, I've got the mask or that layer right in front of my subject's face. So I'm going to go ahead to get rid of that, as I'm going to go ahead and make a layer mask. Let me get in here closer. And on that layer, I'm going to go ahead and bring the opacity down a little bit so I can kind of see where that helmet is. Get here a little closer yet. And on that white mask, I'm going to go ahead and paint with black to reveal what's underneath. And this tutorial is kind of cool too, because I'm doing this just off the cuff. I didn't have anything pre-done or pre-prepared so that it would make it go faster. I really just want to show how the process works. If there's mistakes and missteps, then you'll see how I get around those. So bear with me, it's real time, it's the real thing. Now, I made that mask there where I painted on there. When I get in a little bit closer, I can see areas here where I just went over it. So to correct that, I'll go ahead and just shift my foreground color to white, and I can just go in, and actually it'll probably be better if I went on and pulled my opacity back up a bit so I can see those areas. And that's going to work pretty darn good. All right. Now, there's looks like a little funky stuff up here. Let me kind of move my mask around. Okay, I think we're okay. I'll move it back to where it's supposed to be. Okay, I'll go ahead and bring my opacity back all the way up, and I think that's not too bad. I don't mind that too much. When we back off of that, no one would know the difference. All right, so I want to go ahead and merge together these two layers, since I've got that taken care of. And let's pull back and take a look at what we can do next. I always look at the big picture, see what could be easily enhanced. And one of the things that I see first off is I've got some, looks like some stones down here that might be distracting. Maybe those are just leaves, but I'll go ahead and get that taken care of. And I'm just going to go ahead and do a clone stamp. So I pushed S on my keyboard and sample here, get rid of that, sample here, and just go through and get rid of those. All right, that's taken care of. All right, now we are at a point where I can start enhancing some of the color on here. And what I want to do, I believe, first is to go ahead and address the contrast. And how I do that is I go ahead with a curves adjustment layer. I use this little scrubby, and I get my shadow area, like down here is good. I'll click and pull that down like that. And then I'll find a light area like this, and I'll pull that up. So that makes a slight S curve there in the curves dialog, or the histogram dialog there, and gives me some nice contrast. That's the before and after. All right, so we'll go with that. And the next thing I want to do is bring in some of color saturation, because that's what I really, really like in photographs, is really saturated colors. I don't want it to be too crazy, but I think I just really have always enjoyed color. So I'm going to go ahead, and this time I'll do a hue saturation, and I'm going to go for this blue sky first. So on the different colors here, I've got the master, and then all the colors that make that up. So I'm going to go in with the blues, and I'm going to bring the saturation up on the blues. And I'm just looking at the sky itself. So that is nice and saturated. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and invert the mask on that hue saturation layer. Control I. And that just brings it back to what was underneath. And with white, I'm going to paint on that layer mask, and that'll bring in that nice blue of the sky. It'll just really make that nice and rich without bothering any of the other colors in the composition here. All right, that's quick and easy. And I'll show you before and after on there. That's before, and that's after. Just some nice saturated color in there. So I'm going to continue doing some of that color saturation, but I want to do it in separate places here. So I'm going to really look at this tire area here and kind of the bike area, and I'm going to bring that up. So I'm going to do another hue saturation layer, say that fast 3 times, and I'm just going to bring the overall saturation up. Right there. Do the same thing, invert that mask, Control I, and then just paint in on that black mask with white. Let me get a little closer here. And with this, sometimes it gets to be a little hard to see exactly what you are making that saturation to, but you'll definitely see it when you go to the before and after. It really brings out some of those colors that are kind of hidden in there. Okay, let's go to the before and after. That is the before, and that's the after. So just a little touch of saturation in there. All right, the only other thing that I want to saturate is probably go in with that grass. Again, I'll do another hue saturation. This time I'll go to the greens, like that. And I'll bring those up pretty far. All right, and I will invert that, Control I. I'll get rid of this window. And same thing, I'll just paint on that green area to bring that saturation up. And again, it's one of those kind of things where you look at and you say, oh, I can't really see that I'm doing anything. You will. I'll get some of the green in these trees here too. There might be a little green in there. You'll see the difference when I do the before and after. Okay, so let's look at the before and after on the green. There's the before, there's the after. Just a slight amount of color difference in there. All right, so I've got it saturated the way that I like it. And the only other thing that I want to work on, just quick and dirty with this, is to go ahead and put in a vignette. And how I do that is pretty simple. I just go ahead and make another layer, and I just Alt backspace and I fill that with black. Then I take my elliptical marquee tool and I make a selection, kind of like that. And then I refine the edge, make it really soft, like that. Say OK. And then I just push delete on my keyboard. And that takes out that center part. I'm going to Control D to deselect. And then how I deal with this is, that's a little bit too strong obviously, is I bring the opacity all the way down on that layer and then I just ease it back in. So it looks like about 25% is going to be good for this image. So that just knocks all of this area around the edges off so it really shines a light on the subject that we're looking at now. So we'll take a look at this now. Finished product. I'll back it off a little bit here. So going the wrong way. All right, so let's take a look at the before and after of the entire project. Here is the before, and here is the after. Before and after. Okay, so as you can see, it's just really punched up the color, the contrast, got rid of some of the things that were distracting in the photograph, and it actually, with the vignette, went in and kind of made a spotlight on the actual subject here. All right, so that is our tutorial for this week. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel. Make sure that you hit that like button if you like this video, and check out my other series, which is a super quick tip, something that I started a couple weeks ago, and it's going to be once a week, or actually, sorry, once a month, because a lot of times people ask me in the comments, what exactly was that little thing that you did? How did you get to a particular thing? And so that's what that series is going to address. So make sure you subscribe, like I said before, and I will see you next week with a brand new video. Thanks.